friends, this is Brooke from Urban Paper Crafter, and this is going to be a hopefully quick video to walk you through the construction of these cards in this project. So your kit is all for Halloween. However, the patterns to make these cards are super great for using with all kinds of papers. So I'm going to actually use fall papers to cut and do the patterns with you on this video, but I'm going to walk you through the decoration parts with the papers that you have, because it's going to be super easy to translate these patterns into different cards. Okay, so let's get started. For pattern number 1, that's going to be, is it this one? So that's going to be this pattern here, and I've drawn out the measurements for you so that you can see them. Okay, so all of these patterns that we're using are based on a 6x6, and they're super easy. So you can use your 6x6 pads, or you can use I forgot to grab some card bases, or you can use 12x12s and cut them down. So let's kind of get started here. Okay, so what this means is when you're looking at this pattern, all of these papers, we're going to cut this 3 inches first. Now for a non-directional paper like this one, it doesn't much matter, but for a directional paper, it will matter. I kind of divided these into like, pattern number 1 uses half of one pattern sheet and half of the other pattern sheet. And then for pattern number 2, we use the other half with the other design. You can easily mix and match these. Now, if you want to, you can cut all of your 6x6s that you're using for these squares at the beginning in this 3-inch mark, or you can go as we're doing it. So if you want to work along with the video, you're going to grab the 6x6 that has the stars and the 6x6 that has the web, the white web. Okay, and that's going to be what you're going to use for pattern number 1, and we're just going to take it and we're going to cut it down to 3 inches. Okay, so you're going to take one of those star pieces and one of those web pieces, and you're going to set them aside to use for pattern number 2. Now with this one here, we're going to then make a cut at 3.5 inches. Okay, and that's the 2 pieces we need for this card base. It's so easy. I've put on the piece of paper here what size you need your mats, and for this particular one, I pre-cut them just to speed along the video. So let me glue these guys down. I'm using a different paper, one because some of the Halloween papers that are in your kit are limited, and I didn't want to cut into another one just in case I didn't have enough for the kits, but also because I wanted you guys to get to see what these things look like with a different pattern, so that you can, it'll just help you think to your next card creation. So okay, so we've got these 2 pieces here, and you'll see, I'll just show you this one. So we're looking at this piece and this piece. I'm gonna grab my card base. I'm gonna fold it in half real quick. Okay, and then this one is going to go this direction on the card. So this is not a perfect rectangle. It's going to go this direction on the card. Let's glue that guy down. Okay. And then this one is going to go right here. Now you'll notice when we go to do the close-ups on the Halloween cards that I glittered every one of them but one. Okay, I really liked the glitter on these cards. It helped kind of dress up the festiveness of the Halloween cards, but I did not glitter one of them just to show you what it would look like without the glitter. And I'll show you how to do the glitter here in just a minute. Okay, so there's our base for this one. I'm not going to decorate these on camera. This is just so that you get the construction of the pattern. But now I'm gonna grab the cut-aparts that came with your kit and show you where the parts are. Okay, so let's talk about this one first. So that one is going to be this Frankenstein. He's just fussy cut, and I just gave him a little bit of a black border around him when I fussy cut it. And then I wanted a little something extra. So this is a really great trick. When you see these kind of papers, a lot of times we don't always know what to do with them. But if you look at the elements that are included in this paper, you've got a lot of little space fillers, which is great for a card, set of cards like these. So I just fussy cut, I believe it was this 31, it was the easiest to get to, but I just fussy cut that one out and put it on foam, and it's right there. I did not glitter the 31. Okay, so that's the first card for pattern number 1. And then the second card for pattern number 1, I did Ghostly Greetings, which again is from your 3x4 cut apart. It's going to be this guy, and I fussy cut it with just a little bit of a green border around it. And then this ghost is from this paper here. It's this guy. So I just cut him into a little rectangle, and then you see this hat? I don't know why I thought he needed a hat, but he did, and so it's the hat right here. Okay, so those are the 2 cards from pattern number 1. All right, let's take a look at pattern number 2. Okay, so pattern number 2, this one is going to be one that we want to make sure is going in the right direction again, okay? So we're going to grab this. We're going to cut that 3 inches first. And then just like we did with that first one, we're going to set this aside, because ideally in that, when you're working on it, you would have cut the stars and the webs in half, right? So you probably already have your 3-inch piece. So now what we're going to do is we've got a 3x6 here. We're going to turn it, and we're going to cut 1 inch off of the bottom. And this is going to give us a 1x3. Okay? And then we're going to put this in, and we're going to cut 1-inch strips. All right. And now I did cut the matting for this one as well, just to kind of speed this along. Okay. Oop. Oh, it didn't fall glue side down. That was pretty lucky, actually. So all of these have a bigger border than I normally do, but part of the reason I gave you the bigger border, one, it helps fill in the space, but also it makes the math a lot easier. So this set of patterns is really designed to make it very quick and easy to get a set of cards together. And if you use this pattern, you could super quick put together like gift sets if you wanted to. They could be themed, but they'll look different. So that could be pretty fun. With really any, you just need a handful of coordinating papers. So, and then you need some cut aparts that go with it. Now, if you pay attention when you're gluing these and keep them in the same order that you cut them, you would have a continuous pattern. But I don't know that I did that. Yeah, that one goes there, and that one goes there. Okay. Oh, one more. Alrighty. Okay. So now I just want to talk about this really quick. I gave you some notes on here that these are the sizes of mats that I pre-cut. But to get the very best use of your cardstock that was included in your kit, you're going to want to cut a 1 1/4 strip by 8 1/2 first from your 8.5 by 11, and then you're going to cut that down to 3 1/4, and that's going to give you these two mats. And then you're going to cut a 2.5 by 8.5. You're going to cut it down to 5 1/4 and cut it in half, and that's going to give you this. You will have a rectangle left over, which you may need for later bits and pieces. So you're going to want to save all of the scraps that you have, because you can end up using them for the little decoration pieces that you do. Okay, so let's talk about getting this one together. All right, so this one is a vertical card, and what I like to do is kind of put this one here, put that one there, and then glue those down, and then you can center the middle one. Okay, so I'm going relatively quickly, but I want you guys to see just how quick this goes together, because it's actually a very, very fast recipe for putting your cards together. Okay, because each time you do one of these patterns, you really are cutting for 2 cards. So that makes it nice. Okay. It's a little hard to get things even while I'm on the camera, but okay. Now, what I want to talk to you about with the next one is, we're still on pattern number 2, but let's talk about these guys here, okay? In your kit, you have a strip of these dancing skeletons. That's gonna go here. What I did to mat it, I'll kind of turn it over and see if you guys can sort of see that. I just took thin strips of the green, whatever I had left over, and matted it to the back side to give this that little mat, because I didn't know if I was going to have enough cardstock to mat this whole thing. I think by the end I actually did have enough cardstock, but I was playing it safe. And then this guy here, let's talk about, he comes from this 3x4 cut apart, and I cut it down super, super skinny, just so that it wouldn't take up as much space. But then what I did is I picked one of the 3x4s. Was it that one? Or was it a different one? Nope, I didn't pick a 3x4. Although you could, because the back side of the 3x4s has this pattern, and the back side of this one, which is the, I don't know, word jumbo, has that as your web background. And I used the one from the word jumbo, but you could easily use this one as well. So it's up to you as to which one you want to use for the decorating. Now this is the card that I didn't put any glitter on, because I just wanted to see how it turned out, and actually it's still super cute. And so then on this one here, so here I provided you with the bumper, and for the web piece, this is the only one of all of the pattern that I didn't use that additional piece, because I wanted to put these dancing skeletons in. If you guys were, if you guys saw the live where I announced this line, I pretty much bought it because of this dancing skeleton, because of my dad's love for the Grateful Dead, and that's really where this one this one came about. So okay, this sentiment here is this piece, and then to make it skinnier, I just trimmed part way through those stripes there and shortened it quite a bit so that it didn't take up the whole piece. This guy is on foam, this one is on foam. Now just another note, I'm gonna try and see if I can show you this on the video. Oh, it'll come off a little bit. Okay, see how there's paper behind there? So I put paper bumpers behind a few of these when I put the foam on, because down here it's going to be glued on top of one, on top of foam, on top of one, on top of 2 pieces of paper. And so up here, if it's just glued on top of foam, it'll have a slight, you know, tilt to it, which honestly you probably wouldn't even notice, but I had scraps sitting on the table, so I just filled in the space. Now, so what that means is, for this really pretty pumpkin, if we wanted to do this card here, we're gonna put it on foam and put it right down here. So let me grab some foam, and we're just going to put it together really quick. Okay, I'm going a little sparse on my foam just so you guys don't have to watch me do a whole bunch of foams. Okay. Now, typically, probably what I would do is decide and get my topper together before I put this bumper piece on. And that's mostly so I know how tall to make it, but we're gonna wing it for today. And I'm gonna tell you, I also have, this is the new Welcome Autumn line from Cartabella, and I just love it. So I grabbed the 3x4s, and I'm thinking with this one, because of that beautiful pumpkin, I'm thinking either pumpkin pie fixes everything, or maybe this beautiful foliage piece. So it'll kind of depend, because remember I have this other piece right here that I'm going to turn into pattern 1. So it'll kind of depend on which one I want for pattern 1 also. All right, so that is pattern 2. We're already halfway through. Pretty good, huh? Okay, so the next ones I want to talk about, we have patterns 3 and 4. So I kind of want to talk about this for a second, because with patterns 1 and 2, I cut them in half, and then I used all the pieces from pattern 1 on the same card. So it was squares of the same paper on the same card. Now for patterns number 3 and 4, I mixed and matched. So this one is pattern number 3. And you can see what I mean here by I've got the spiders and I've got the skulls, because I just wanted to shake things up a little bit and change things. And then on this one, I've got the skulls and the spiders as well. So for this one to work, we're going to need to get both pieces of paper into the mix, okay? So let me grab my paper trimmer. And again, these are mostly non-directional. The leaves might have a direction, but nah, not really. So I'm gonna cut them into 3 inches. Okay. Set one of those off to the side, and I'm gonna cut this guy into 3 inches. Set that off to the side. Okay, so first I'm gonna work on number 3. Number 3 looks like this. So the first one I'm gonna take and I'm gonna cut, it's already 3 by 6, so I'm gonna cut 3 by 3 3/4. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut it down to 1 1/8. This is the only of the patterns where you have to get into the 8ths. So everything else is pretty good. So again, this is the other piece, and because we're mixing and matching, we have to do both of them. So we're gonna do 3 3/4, and we're going to do 1 1/8. Okay? All right. So now I have my pieces from this one, and I have my pieces from that one. So it really doesn't matter which one we pick for the video. So I'll take the florals and the 2 leaves for that one, because we're going to end up with a similar card. And I'm going to grab the yellow cardstock, because I think this will help brighten this one up just a little bit. And it goes off to the side. So I'm going to check. My cousin's name is Matt. I don't know why. On just this one drawing, I spelled it like for my cousin, but I think that's funny. Okay, so I'm going to cut this at 3 1/4, okay, by 8 1/2. That's going to be my first cut. And then I'm going to cut it to 4. And I'm going to cut 1 3/8. And 1 3/8. And all of these pieces of any size, I actually just tuck over in my scrap pile, because if I'm gonna be cutting anything from that word jumbo piece, sometimes I need a little mat, and I wanna make sure that I have those and don't have to cut into the bigger pieces. Okay, so let's glue these together and we'll get them on the card. So the other thing is, what you may want to look into is the back sides. One of the reasons that I also, at least for the fall line, liked the floral and the leaf together is because the back sides were nice. They were a nice solid design, okay? So if I needed a different color for those little pieces that stick out, then I have that option. So I don't necessarily know what my design is going to be at the end of this for those guys. So I'm going to take, where did my leaves go? All right. So what I'm going to do, this is honestly how I designed all of the cards as well, okay? Before I stuck stuff down, and I did a lot of the designing for you, because sometimes designing with pattern papers, it looks really awesome, but sometimes it can be tricky to get things, you know, looking the way you want them to. So first off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the leaves on here like this, and I'm gonna tuck them under and see if I think that just looks a little bit busy. I think it might, okay? So for this one, I'm gonna turn it over and do something like that. And I'm liking this much better as a card design because it's easier on my eyes, and then the floral can really shine. Okay, so for me, for this one, that's how I'm gonna do it. Now with the Halloween ones, sometimes you have that choice, but also you're gonna have quite a bit left over of the cut aparts. So if you don't like the skulls and the spiders together, you can kind of do what you can with some of the other designs, and then you can use your extra pieces for those, okay? So it just kind of depends. You've got a lot of wiggle room, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do the video with a different paper and then just talk about it so that you guys can start to really, really see how easy it is to do a different pattern. Okay, so now to glue these down, I'm gonna glue these guys down first, but I just like to take a peek here and see what my spacing is gonna be. So I think I'll have him go right about there for the first one. Now for those of you guys that are quick crafters and don't like to think about things too much, this is going to be a perfect set of patterns for you. And I'll tell you, if you have 6x6 pads in your stash and you've used up a bunch of them and you have some remnants, this is also going to be a great set of patterns to help you use stuff up. Okay. And then we get this one glued down. And that's it. So that is pattern number 3, okay? And we have these pieces already cut and set aside for another card for pattern number 3. Now, I want to talk to you guys about where these pieces came from. Obviously, you'll find your die cuts in your kit, and then the I Witch You a Happy Halloween. That is going to be right here, and it is cut quite a bit down. I did not mat it because I thought actually with the skulls, the skulls did a pretty good job of matting it on their own, and doing a mat for the sentiment would have just covered up the skulls. So I thought that worked pretty well. She is also on foam. I didn't do a paper bumper behind any of her parts, so this part is just a wee bit higher, but it's almost not noticeable, okay? And then this one here, so we have this other witch, and we didn't use a ton of things from this paper here, But you've got this beautiful sentiment strip. So I just used Double Double Toil and Trouble. This one didn't fit on the card, but I thought that was perfect for the sentiment, and it still kind of ties in the design that we've made there. Okay, so we only have 2 more cards to go. Isn't this awesome? They're so fast. Okay, so set that one off to the side, and now we are on pattern number 4. Okay, so we have these 2 strips. Is it these 2 strips? Nope. Nope, 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 nope. These are the 2 strips for our 3s and our 4s. So let me grab my paper trimmer, and what we're gonna do now is, they're already cut. First line is 3. So now we're gonna cut at 4.5 inches. And 1.5 inches. This will give us 2 little squares. Okay, and 4.5, and 1.5. Okay, so we've got the florals and we've got the leaves. Now we did, I think on the other one we did the big floral. Let's do the big leaf on this one and the 2 little florals. Okay, I'm probably gonna flip those over again just because it gives more contrast for the design. Now, what I'm gonna do is, again, I like the yellow for this one, but let's see if I have a scrap piece. I didn't grab a full piece of yellow, so I may not have a scrap piece big enough for this one, so that's okay. I'm gonna go with this rust color because I actually really, really like this rust color as well. It just doesn't give me a lot of contrast for this one, so I think I'm gonna switch to the other color combo because I do get more contrast with this one. Okay. And that set over there, I will matte that one in yellow. I just don't have it with me and I don't want to run and go get it. Okay, so now for the mats, we're going to cut it, let's do 3 1/4. Okay, by 4 3/4. As I'm cutting into that 8.5 by 11, I'm always trying to think what is going to give me the biggest piece of leftovers, because then as I'm going through and matting my cards, I will have bigger pieces left over. Okay, so just every time you go and cut into the main piece, always think what's going to give me the biggest piece left. So I know that I need to cut 2 mats that are 1 3/4 inch, right? So 1 3/4 plus 1 3/4 is 3.5. So I'm just gonna kind of measure, it's 3.5 long enough that way. So if I cut 1 3/4 like this, it's gonna leave me this piece, and that's gonna be big enough. Okay. And if that isn't something that makes sense for you, then it's okay. You just do the best you can. You'll have some leftovers, and you can always shake up the colors of cardstock that you're using. It's not, you know, nothing is written in stone. Okay, you'll have enough cardstock in your kit, but you won't have a ton of leftover plain cardstock. So if it turns out that your cuts weren't quite as efficient as they needed to be, then just grab some other cardstock that you have at home and throw it into the mix. That's the nice thing about making cards versus, like, if you're making a mini book, it's a lot harder to mix and match your cardstock and make it look cohesive. But if you're making cards, it's not a problem at all. All right. Is this still on the screen? Okay. And before we go, I also want to show you the glitter technique. You'll notice on the autumn ones I'm not doing any glittering, and that is merely because I'm trying to get through the designs while we are on the video here. And with the glittering, you have to, it doesn't take long to dry, but it does take a minute or so, or a couple minutes. So you know, may want to keep that in mind as you're crafting, that if you want to glitter, you're going to need a little bit of dry time. But you can do all your cutting, then all your glittering. You'll just want to kind of keep your pieces, you know, organized somehow so that it makes sense. All right, now let me show you the trick that I did for this one, okay? I'm going to move my mat up so that the bottom is in the screen, and I'm going to show you what I ended up doing. So I ended up placing my card down here at the bottom of my grid. And if you have a gridded mat like this, this is gonna work great for this technique. You super duper can eyeball this, or you can measure however you wanna do it. But because what we're gonna do is we're creating, with these two squares, we're creating the illusion of a band behind this one. And so in order for that illusion to work, we really need them to be at the same height, okay? So what I'm gonna do is they're gonna go all the way to the edge of the card, and with that right in place and my card straight, I'm gonna come up and put it at 1 1/4 inches, okay? So what that means is it's a whole inch up, and then one more little section is where this bottom corner hits. So 1 1/2 inches, 1 1/4 inches up from the bottom is where that guy's measuring. And I'm putting it all the way to the edge because with all the other cards, they have a lot of white space, you know, kind of around and stuff, which is nice. We don't usually make cards like that. But with this one, because the main piece is so big, I wanted to make sure that we got to see as much, oops. See, I was talking and not paying attention. Huh. I wanted to make sure that we see as much as possible, okay, of this design here for these little squares. Okay. So you probably saw when I misglued it, it's very easy to tell if it's not in the right place. And then this one, you can put this on foam too if you want to, but I put all of the layers, except maybe the accent layer in pattern number 2. I put all the layers on with glue, and then that allowed me to bump up whatever little embellishment pieces that I did. Okay, so that's the base for the fall one. But how easy are these? Isn't that fun? Okay, so that is pattern number 4, and let's talk about these guys. Okay, so this one is from the word jumble. Hey There Pumpkin is either from here or from here, wherever you haven't cut into yet. I think those might be the only two. But again, if you cut into these, no big deal. There's a gazillion things on here that you could use for this one. And then I cut out this little guy here and that little guy, I think it was this guy, for extras, but that's because I used Hey There Pumpkin. If you end up using a different one, pick some different characters if you want to. And then the stripe that's right here, just because I needed a little landing spot for those. Let me kind of show you guys. See that? Okay. That is from right here. So it's right above the double toil and trouble that we used on the other card. Okay. And then this one. So this is the one I made kind of, I made this one with Scrappy in mind. So he won't see this video, so he may be getting this as his Halloween card. It's very sparkly just because, again, the skeletons in this line are absolutely my favorite. So you have a little bit of purple glitter paper in there just to set these guys off. And it also has to do with, these guys are black and white, the skulls is black and white, the spiders is black and white, my sentiment is black and white, my cardstock is green, but when I matted them with green, it just was too, you know what I mean? Like, meh. So I decided we're gonna add some purple glitter to these guys to really make them kind of dancing and fun. So what it is, this is maybe the hardest part, but you've got a lot of tries, okay? So it's gonna be this strip right here. Here's the thing. These are extremely close together. So you're gonna wanna put this, I use my Tim Holtz paper trimmer, but whatever paper trimmer you can use that gives you the most exact cuts, because what'll happen is you may cut off a fingertip of one to save a toe for the other, or you know, something like that. But you can also use every other one, and you can use, what I ended up doing is using the 3 that I cut the best. And they just happen to be in different poses and slightly different sizes. So because they were different sizes, I went with the biggest one, the middle one, and the smallest one. But what I would do is pick the ones that you want, mat them, and then arrange them how they fit on the card the best. So you could also do the littlest one up here, but the reason I didn't is because these two guys had more black space down in this bottom corner. He doesn't have as much, so it didn't allow the design to, you know, overlap and flow quite the way I wanted it to. This Happy Halloween is from the Word Jumble. So that is basically everything you need to know to put these cards together. The only last thing I want to show you guys is how to do the glitter, okay? So we'll do it for this design here. And I used Unicorn. You can use really any of the clear stickles that you have. I like this one because it had a bit of a tint of green to it and kind of an orange gold. So I thought it was really pretty for this set of cards. But this is what we call the soft touch glitter technique. I don't know where that name came from, but I probably started with that name and before I really thought of something good, but so that's what we call it. Anyways, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a puddle, and then you're just gonna dip your finger in here, okay? And you want it to be kind of flat on your finger. And then what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take, let me make sure I'm in camera, okay? Take your finger and you're going to just pull and rotate. And that pulling and the rotating is going to give you a very, very straight line of glitter. And it's a very thin way to apply the glitter, so it dries really, really quick. So it depends on how, I will tell you this though, as I was designing, I was able to go pretty quick just because of the, you know, but it's still slower as opposed to like, if you guys are following my pattern, you don't have to like reinvent the wheel, so you'll be even faster than me. And with the speed that I was going and designing at the same time, I still did have to hit some of these with the heat tool, which I think is really awesome because it means I was able to design 8 cards super fast for you. So anyways, it goes pretty quick once you kind of get the hang of it. And so you're just going to put a little flat amount on your finger, okay? And then you're going to pull and rotate. And that's all there is to it. Pull and rotate. Okay? So your kit is for the Halloween. If you do need me to pull the fall papers for you, let me know, and I'm happy to grab the ones that I used on this video because I think they're going to make it a really, really beautiful set of cards as well. And I may finish them. I'm not 100% sure. Kind of depends on how the day goes. So anyways, thanks you guys so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.